I lived in Maine for 45 years before I had enough and decided to leave for good in 2017. It felt like a constant battle, struggling under a system I couldn't opt out of. It was nearly impossible to have a productive life, only to survive paying taxes and fees. One winter day, I woke up freezing and realized I just couldn't take it anymore. So I sold what I could and left. I knew wherever I went would have to be better than living in Maine. And you know what? I was right. It was scary leaving everything I knew behind. I boarded a plane with less than $300 in my pocket and landed in Seattle, Washington, knowing no one. I'd never been a fan of big cities, but I knew it had to be better than living in Maine. Turns out I was right. Big cities don't target the less fortunate in the same way Maine seemed to. Opportunities are everywhere, and I just had to make the effort to find them. Something I always dreamed of but couldn't do in Maine. Even before 2017, I could see the direction Maine was headed. It felt like complete control with little room for freedom. Looking at the state today, sadly, I was right. Leaving was the best choice I ever made. My only regret was not doing it 30 years earlier, the years of struggle I could have avoided. After spending time outside Maine, I now see clearly how limited and frustrating life there was. No unnecessary fees for things like vehicle stickers, and inspections and registrations are only required every 2 years. States on the West Coast don't impose both income and sales tax, something I found particularly burdensome in Maine. After I left, I learned that the state's Fusion Center monitors who buys plane tickets and even keeps an eye on bank balances. It was an unsettling realization that I'd been monitored in ways I hadn't fully understood. After leaving, I struggled with PTSD for years, trying to understand how a state in the United States could have such an impact on my well-being. Thankfully, those feelings have subsided over time. But this is why I call it what it is: Despicable Maine. Over the past 6 years, I've noticed that Maine's quality of life has significantly declined. A large part of this decline is linked to the complete control of state government by the Hippocratic Party since 2019. The evidence of this is especially clear in the public school system, which has fallen from 19th in the nation in 2018 to being ranked dead last today. To make matters worse, Maine students recently posted the lowest test scores in reading and math in 30 years, according to the National Assessment of Educational Progress, also known as the nation's report card. The Maine Department of Education's new focus under Supreme Ruler Janet Mills is working hard to ensure students can accurately recite their pronouns and the innumerable genders that supposedly exist. Meanwhile, as the quality of Maine's education system has collapsed, Maine's education spending has grown nearly 45% over the last decade, from a total of roughly $1.1 billion in 2014 to just over $1.6 billion in 2023. While Maine currently enjoys the worst-ranked schools in the nation, it's excelling at producing some of the highest tax rates among the 50 states. According to the Tax Foundation, Maine ranks 48th when it comes to its property tax rate and 40th for business taxes. Despite this already heavy tax burden, Hippocrates and Augusta want to increase taxes on Maine people by millions of dollars. The Supreme Ruler Janet Mills has proposed hiking taxes on cigarettes, hospitals, ambulances, and entertainment streaming, while some Hippocratic lawmakers want to raise income taxes even higher. Just to show I am a psychic, I predict they will approve all of these taxes and even invent more. Maybe I should predict the lottery numbers with accurate predictions like that. In addition to high taxes and burgeoning education spending that produce negative education results, Maine has seen its total budget increase by 85% under Supreme Ruler Janet Mills and the Hippocrates in the legislature, from $8.8 billion in 2019 to $13 billion in 2023. According to the Despicable Maine Policy Institute, the Supreme Ruler Janet Mills' current budget proposal would increase general fund spending by an additional $1.1 billion compared to the last biennial budget. Mainers have watched in frustration as the cost of living has surged in just a few short years, while their paychecks fail to keep up with ever-increasing financial burdens. In 2018, the median sale price for a home in Maine was $215,000. Today, it has skyrocketed to $360,000 and continues to rise. These soaring prices make homeownership nearly impossible for many, requiring an annual income of $110,000, far above Maine's median income of just under $76,000. As housing affordability declines, homelessness in Maine has reached record levels since 2022. Rising property taxes tied to increasing home values are also putting older homeowners on fixed incomes in a difficult position. One Maine mayor even suggested that elderly residents consider reverse mortgages as a solution to these excessive tax burdens. While Mainers struggle with housing and cost of living challenges, the administration of Governor Janet Mills has continued policies that have brought thousands of undocumented immigrants to the state at an estimated cost of $94 million annually to taxpayers, according to the Federation for American Immigration Reform's 2023 report. This far exceeds the estimated $15 million these migrants contribute in taxes each year. The strain on health services, housing, education, and public safety continues to grow, yet state leadership remains focused on expanding these policies. Another alarming shift has been the rise in violent crime across Maine. In 2018, there were 23 murders statewide. In 2023, that number had nearly tripled to 60. Even when excluding the tragic mass shooting in Lewiston, there were still 42 homicide victims, almost double the total from 2018 and a 50% increase from 2022. Maine residents deserve leadership that prioritizes their well-being, financial security, and public safety. Mainers have also watched transnational criminal organizations from China, Mexico, and elsewhere infiltrate Maine communities while the state government does little to nothing to stop it. These organizations have helped push the fentanyl crisis in Maine, which has contributed to nearly 10,000 total overdoses in 2023, among which over 600 were fatal, while drug-related deaths totaled 354 in 2018. These horrific changes across Despicable Maine creep into the people's lives slowly and become normalized over time. To that end, Mainers are becoming the proverbial frog in the boiling water. As the water slowly gets hotter, they don't realize it until it boils over and it's too late to escape. A textbook example of this phenomenon is the once mighty former state of California. Hippocrates in Augusta and across Maine often look to the former Golden State for inspiration. Meanwhile, California is collapsing in real time with its population implosion, homeless crisis, record poverty rates, crime waves, emergency response failures, inflation, and budget deficits that exceed Despicable Maine's total budget. Seeing what California has become is a dire warning for Maine people, not a model to follow. While elected Hippocrates have led Maine down this perilous path, it will be up to Maine voters to change course. Those voters shifted right in the past election, but not enough to turn either chamber of the state legislature over to conservatives as a check against Supreme Ruler Janet Mills. The next election is not for another 2 years, and the people of Maine will need a revolution of common sense to undo the catastrophic damage wrought upon communities over these last 6 years by the Hippocrates. The future of the state depends on it. Personally, I see it as too far late. Government is way too big and despicable. Maine's so collapse and more misery for Maine people are what I predict. If you want a climate that is like Maine except no harsh winters, oppressive humidity in summer, or insect-infested summers, the Pacific Northwest is a good choice. Did you know Washington and Oregon have no flying insects like Maine? For me personally, living where there are no black flies, mosquitoes, deer flies, moose flies, all the other flies, and ticks falling from trees makes the Pacific Northwest paradise compared to Despicable Maine. Ask yourself this. Have you ever seen a bloated government decrease its size or spending? There is your answer. Stay there and be a victim forever, or move to a place where you are allowed to have a productive life.
It was once a paradise, a dream in the pines. Now we're slipping through our hands, lost in the times. Despicable Maine, where the skies turn gray. The hope is fading fast like the end of the day. The criminals infiltrate from the east and the south, pushing poison through the streets, spreading by word of mouth. The fentanyl's creeping, stealing lives in the night, but the government's blind, can't see the fight. The water's getting hotter, which you know to see. Like the frog in the pot, we're drowning in this stream. Watch it all burn while they play the same game. Criminals infiltrate from the east and the south, pushing poison through the streets, spreading by word of mouth. The fentanyl's creeping, stealing lives in the night, but the government's blind, can't see the fight. The criminals infiltrate from the east and the south, pushing poison through the streets, spreading by word of mouth. The fentanyl's creeping, stealing lives in the night, but the government's blind, can't see the fight. The water's getting hotter, we're too numb to see. Like the frog in the pot, we're drowning in this stream. Once we had the power, now it's slipping away. Despicable Maine's a nightmare where we fade. Escape the collapse, leave the wreckage behind. Almost anywhere is better than a land of lost minds. Despicable Maine, can't you feel the strain? Watch it all burn while they play the same game. Escape the collapse, leave the wreckage behind. Almost anywhere is better than the land of lost minds. Despicable Maine, can't you feel the strain? Watch it all burn while they play the same game. Escape the collapse, leave the wreckage behind. Almost anywhere is better than the land of lost minds. Despicable Maine, can't you feel the strain? Watch it all burn while they play the same game. The flies, the ticks, the government's weight, it's all part of the storm. We're too late to escape. A future of misery, no end in sight, but you can find paradise in the Pacific's light. Escape the collapse, leave the wreckage behind. Almost anywhere is better than the land of lost minds. Despicable Maine, can't you feel the strain? Watch it all burn while they play the same game. Despicable Maine, we're shackled by your lies, but I'm taking my chance, I'm cutting the ties. Escape the collapse, it's time to be free. Anywhere's better, just get out of Despicable Maine.